Everyone is talking about the most powerful Qwen-3 Coder, which currently sits between Claude Code Sonnet and Qwen K2. And most importantly, in this video, I'm going to show you how to set this up and also how to fix the memory problem where we can have a centralized memory that works across different AI coding IDEs, ensuring your AI will never forget. So with that being said, if you're interested, let's get into it. Alright, first thing first, we're going to navigate to the Qwen repo, and here you can see if we were to scroll down, it tells you exactly how to install this. So first thing first, we're going to have Node.js version 20 above installed on your local machine. You can verify this if you were to do node version. It tells you that currently I'm using version 22, so I'm good to go. But here you can see it also tells you how to install this using npm install. So here we're just going to install this globally with a -g. So after we have this installed, we can verify this using Qwen version. So here it tells you exactly which version you're using for Qwen. So currently we're using 0.0.1. Okay, so to activate this, we simply do Qwen. But here, before we do this, we also need to do some API configuration. So we can use the Alibaba link to create an API key, right? By simply just follow those links. The other way we can do this is we can use an Open Router here. So Open Router has Qwen-3 Coder for free. So we just simply create an API key. So I'm just gonna name it Qwen Coder, for example. And here we're just gonna create a key. I'm just gonna copy the key. And here, I'm just going to put the key, create a temporary file here, basically put the key there. And then if I want to get the base URL, I simply just go to the Qwen-3 Coder. And here, if we were to click on API, you can see that there is a base URL right here. We're just gonna copy this. Make sure we also change that for the OpenAI base URL as well. And here we also have the model name. So we're just gonna copy this and also change that for the Qwen-3 Coder for free. All right, so once you fill this in, now what we can do is you can copy this and run this anywhere in your terminal session. So here, I'm just gonna open my terminal session and I'm just gonna paste this link, and here's gonna set the environment variables for those properties. All right, so to use Qwen, basically you can see here that I open a project and simply I just do Qwen and it starts a Qwen session here. Now, just like how we use Claude Code or Gemini CLI, we can simply do / here to view all the commands that we can use. For example, we can view all the MCP servers, and so far we don't have any MCP server configured. We can also use the @ symbol here to reference any files that we have inside of our local project. So for example, let's say if I have a login page.tsx and I wanted to basically write a unit test for this. So I'm just gonna do tab autocomplete this. And here we're just gonna say write a React component test for this component. So first thing first is gonna check to see if there's existing test file, which there's none. So here is gonna check if there's a test directory or any other test files. And here is also going to read the package.json. So it also noticed that there is a test for backend, but there's no test for frontend. So here's going to create the test file for logging page component. So here you can see first, it's going to create the test folder in the components folder, and it's going to create a test file. So here it's going to ask us permission, and here we're just going to say yes. Now it's going to create a test file for the logging page component. Now here's the thing, especially for a new model like this, sometimes the large language model here might hallucinate, it might lead to a wrong track, and we might have to correct them to get the issue fully resolved. For example, currently you can see it made some changes, and now currently we're at 98% left for the context. And now let's say if we were to switch to a different Qwen session, now you can see we're back with 100% context. So all the conversations, rules, we all lost when we start a new session. And let's say we get to a point where Qwen is not able to fix this problem, and we want to use a different large language model here to fix the issue. For example, Sonnet 4 or Qwen K2. How do we do that? And the solution to this is using a centralized dynamic memory, where it doesn't matter if you're using Cursor, Claude Code, or Qwen CLI. And if you're going to start an AI coding session, you're going to start with a 100% context window. But as you start to interact with the AI large language model here in your coding IDE, that context window is going to get shorter and shorter. So eventually, you will have to think about how you can be able to migrate that memory to another large language model or another session. And that's why having a centralized memory is so important. But you might be wondering, why can't we just write those things down using static memory, like an MD file, pull requests, comments? Well, the thing is that will cost time for developers to write it, and we can simply just delegate that work to a dynamic memory where every time when you chat with large language model, it's gonna remember what you asked and what the response that large language model generates. And anything that you don't like or any failures is automatically going to capture that in the memory. And that's why having a memory layer like ByteRover is going to help our AI IDE development much more easier. And of course, there's also an open source version called Cypher, which is also an open source memory layer designed for coding agents, pretty much compatible for the most popular AI IDEs out there. And feel free to give it a try, but for this video specifically, our main focus is how we can be able to integrate ByteRover to our AI IDE development so that we can have a shared AI coding memories for all projects and teams. And currently with the free plan, there's no credit card required. And here we have unlimited memory creations, unlimited users. So let's try this out for the free versions and see what it looks like. Once you sign up for the account, this is what it looks like in the dashboard. So first thing first, we're gonna create an organization. So here you can see I already have the organization. So here we're just gonna click on View Memory Workspace. Now here inside of this organization, you can see that we can click on Quick Start, and you can see that for Quick Start, we can choose an agent. For example, if we were to using Qwen Code, we can be able to select this. So if I were to use the Qwen Code or Qwen Code, all right, so first thing first, we're gonna open our Qwen Code settings JSON file, which is located here. And once we open that, this is what it looks like for the settings.json. So here we just simply copy the MCU servers here and add it in the settings here. So it also adds the HTTP requests and also the authorizations. We don't have to worry about the authorization key now, it's already added for us. And once it's done, we're going to save that, reload our Qwen code. All right, so now if I were to start a new Qwen session, now we can pretty much use it every time when we interact with Qwen. So whenever we use Qwen, it's going to retrieve knowledge related to the things that we're working on, and it's going to save the memory whenever we have a successful interaction. So pretty much that's how we're going to use it. All right, so now you know how to use Qwen Code and how you can be able to use MCP server like ByteRover with Qwen Code. And now let's take a look at how we can be able to connect it with other AI coding IDEs or things like Claude Code or VS Code. And here, all we have to do is just choose a IDE that we can configure with. So here, let's say if I were to choose VS Code, for example, I'm just gonna click on this, open the code with VS Code. All right, so here you can see it asks us to install this extension. So I'm gonna install extension and open the URI. So now you can see that the ByteRover extension has installed. All right, so right off the bat, here's basically a Nest.js application that I created. And ByteRover here basically created some rules for the settings.json file for using the MCP server for the ByteRover. And here I also have the client rules for the ByteRover rules. So basically you can see if we were to open this, this is the instructions to always use ByteRover to retrieve knowledge and also store the knowledge whenever we have a successful task completion. So then if we were to scroll down, there's also a Claude.md file. So here you can see also add the instruction as well for retrieving the information or retrieving the knowledge based on related context and also saving the knowledge after any successful task completion. So pretty much whenever we want to use any AI coding tools, we can pretty much just provide this instruction. So it will basically use that MCP server to save and retrieve relevant information. All right, so now let's take a look at how we can be able to use it inside of our AI coding tool. So for example, if I were to use Claude Code, my first prompt, which is to review the critical recommendations in the architecture analysis.md file, which is this one. And I want to see if there's any high priority task related to the graceful error handling in the UI. So first thing first, it's going to use the ByteRover MCP to read our knowledge base to see if there's any relevant context that we can fill in. And then it's going to read through the files that we have inside of a folder to understand the answer for this. All right, so now you can see that this is the answer that it gives me for error handling in UI. And now you can see that because this interaction has generated successfully, it also saved this knowledge inside of our ByteRover MCP. All right, so now if I were to hop over to ByteRover and click on memories, so here you can see these are all the memories that we have. So here you can see we have the timestamp, the memory on what is it about. So here you can see I have already created an initial memory just for testing, but here you can see this is the memory that's related to what we just talked about. So you can see that pretty much every interactions we interact with our AI coding tool, it basically saved that memory inside of this knowledge base so that whenever we try to do something, it will look through the memory first before it generates a response. All right, so in that case, let's try to generate that reusable class or component for error boundary that can wrap our components and display a fallback UI if error occurs. All right, so let's let Claude Code do this. And as always, first thing first, what I do is trying to retrieve information from the memory, and then it starts to create a to-do list and start to implement the approach. So now you can see that it officially creates the error boundary implementation and also the error fallback as well as updating the official documentation inside of our Claude.md. Not only that, it also saves the memory inside of our ByteRover stored knowledge base. Awesome. So now if I were to say that this is going to be our now standard pattern for preventing component crashes from breaking the entire page, and make sure to use this pattern for all components inside of our application. Now, if I were to save this, and this should be able to save this preference inside of our knowledge base so that in the future, if we ever want to create a component, it's going to look through that rule inside of our memory and be able to implement this inside of our project. All right, so now you can see that I saved that memory inside of our knowledge base. And now let's try to open another Claude Code session and try to ask a question to see if it's able to retrieve that information. So in that case, here I'm just gonna ask, what's the standard way to protect a component like member list from crashing due to unexpected data errors? So if I were to run this, it should be able to retrieve that knowledge from our knowledge base and answer that question. And here you can see this is the answer. Based on the Claude MD file and the retrieved knowledge, your standard error protection pattern is error boundary. And basically this is the way how we use it, using the error boundary as well as the fallback components. And you can see it also saved that memory inside of our ByteRover as well. Because our memory knowledge are stored inside of our ByteRover, so we can actually use a different AI coding tool like Client here, for example, to be able to retrieve and save memories from our knowledge base. So for example, if I were to give the same question and ask that question to Client, so here you can see it's going to retrieve that from ByteRover for the knowledge retrieval. And here we're just going to approve that request. And here you can see underneath it is using GPT-4o for the large language model here. And now here you can see we got a response, which is error boundary, and it also gives you examples on how to use it. So we wrap it around a component for the error boundary, and also we can do it with a custom fallback, and it lists out the key features, and it is able to know that by using the ByteRover here to retrieve that knowledge. All right, just to recap everything, pretty much we can be able to use ByteRover here to be able to read data from our memory and write data for each interactions that we have with our AI coding agents. And I have also demonstrated to you that you can be able to use this shared memory across different coding agents. For example, let's say if you're using Claude Code for development, and then tomorrow, let's say you choose to use Windsurf or Gemini Code Assist or OpenAI, for example. Since you're using ByteRover for all the shared memories, each AI coding sessions will have all the memories that you have interacted with in the past using this ByteRover MCP server. Now, I also want to end this video by talking about the pricing really quick. So currently I'm using the free tier, and you can see the limitation is that we have 500 memory retrieval. And if I were to look at my usage, so far I have retrieved data 8 times, and the limit here, like we saw on the plan, is 500. But what's really cool about this is that it has a unlimited memory creations for all the plans that we see here, and also unlimited user usage. And the only difference here is just the memory retrieval for different plans. So with that being said, if you're interested, please go ahead and give this product a try. And lastly, I also want to mention that if you want to manage the memory by your organization or by yourself, you can also check out this open source repository, which is also created and used by ByteRover here. Simply Cypher here is basically the open source memory layer that is being used by ByteRover. And basically, if we want to manage our data by ourselves, we can literally use Cypher to connect it with our AI coding agents. We can be able to manage our data, our memory through our own cloud and our own platform management. Whereas the ByteRover here, it basically takes care of all of this for us so that we don't have to worry about the cloud storage and also the platform management. And if you're interested to learn more, you can also check out this documentation right here, which tells you more detail on how Cypher works. That's pretty much it for this video. If you do find value in this video, please make sure to like this video and consider subscribe for more content like this. But with that being said, I will see you in the next video.